Morning, middle school. Happy Sunday. I hope you had a great Halloween. I'm sure it was different than usual, but I hope you had fun and got lots of candy and had a good time with family. Speaking of family, today we're going to talk about fam. This is our new series, and it's going to go for 4 weeks, maybe five. I think it's four. But this is week one. And what's great about family is that we all a family is one thing that we all definitely have in common. And for sure, families can look really different. Maybe your family is your parents and some siblings. Maybe it's parents but no siblings. Maybe it's a mom, a stepmom, a dad, a stepdad, half siblings, a couple dogs, your dad and his girlfriend, and her daughter. I don't know. It could be anything. All of our families look very, very different. It can be our biological family, it can be extended family, it can be mixed families where it's like step families, people who aren't related to you but have become your family. There's foster family, there's adopted families. Families, there's just so many different ways to look at it. And no matter what yours looks like now or what it will look like in the future, what it looked like in the past, we all come from or are part of some kind of family. A fam that, like it or not, is ours, right? So, since we're talking about family, I'm going to introduce you to my family. So, first of all, here are my siblings. When I think of family, I think of my siblings. I have two older sisters and I have a younger brother. And these are some recent photos that we've taken in the last few years. The first one over here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but here, yeah. This one was taken at my cousin's wedding. And I have no idea where this pose came from, but as you can see, it has become quite the tradition for us. And it's just my sisters holding out my little brother. Um, the middle one is from my brother's wedding, and then the one on the end is from my wedding. And I think we're just going to continue doing that at every wedding that we go to from now until forever. But when we were growing up in school, we were all very different. I was more into sports. My sister Kelsey, she's a doctor now. She was really smart, really into AP classes. Nicole, my oldest sister, she got really into music. My little brother also was really into music. So we were kind of all um, just into different things, and we were only like a couple years apart. So um, I think that we fought a lot. We had a lot of different interests, and I think it's cool now too to look at now that we're all grown up and like we're getting married. My sister's got a couple kids. It's cool to see the way that we all interact now and how like much better we get along and how much we can help each other out and like support each other, which is really cool. So those are my siblings. That's what I think of when I think of family. I also think of extended family. This is my mom's extended family, and we had actually never taken a photo like this until for my wedding. And I love it because you see so many different generations. My grandparents had five kids, and then they all had kids, and now the grandkids are having kids. So it's just like a huge, like multi generational group. Um, and poor Jermaine, when he had to meet my family, it was like, how do you keep track of these names? Like, it's crazy. So many of us. And we look all like together and like, oh, we look so like, fancy and we're smiling and like all perfect. But I feel like this picture is more accurate to like my family. When we're in one room, there's so much going on because there are like six conversations being yelled. And it's not like angry yelled, it's just we all need to be heard. So we're a very loud family. We play games, we're crazy, loud. We used to do the turkey trot and we would like all dress up and be obnoxious. So we're a unique family, I think. I think everybody's got a unique family. But we're loud, we're very fun. And at the end of the day, we all really love each other, which I appreciate and value. So, um, yeah, my family, we're crazy. We can be embarrassing at sports competitions when I was growing up. My grandparents would be in the stands. Um, Definitely some of the strangest people I know and some of the best people that I know for sure. I love being around them, and they're just really loving and supportive. And that's one of the greatest things about my family. Um, and here's the thing. I know not everyone likes being around their family because it can be stressful and unpredictable and sometimes even exhausting. There's fighting, there's health issues, divorce, lying, rules that we don't understand or maybe agree with, annoying little younger siblings, and all these things can make family a lot more complicated, right? And then let's add faith to the equation. Believe it or not, faith, what each of you believes or doesn't believe, can make things even more complicated with your family. Whether you've been a Christian for a long time or Jesus is kind of a new thing for you, here's what I want you to know. Faith can ultimately create a lot of tension in your family, which sounds like, oh, that sounds so negative. Shouldn't it be more positive? Well, think of like this in a couple different ways. Um, this might be something you really relate to because your faith is really important to you. What you believe really impacts the way that you live, the things that you do, the things you prioritize. But maybe there's someone in your family who is not on the same page. Maybe it's a sibling or a parent, or maybe it's like someone from your extended family, like an aunt or a cousin. And when you do hang out with them, you're kind of like, oh, this is weird because they give you a hard time for it. They don't take things as seriously as you do. Maybe they have very different priorities. You're not sure how to talk about faith stuff, if you should talk about faith stuff, because you think they believe something totally differently than you. And it all feels really strange because you just feel like you're on two different pages. So, in that situation, faith can create some tension. Or, on the other hand, maybe for you, you are from a very Christian family and your family loves reading the Bible and goes to church, and they think that you should be like really into it and love it too. And if you're honest, like you really aren't that interested. Maybe you come to church because someone in your family brings you. And maybe that's something that causes a little bit of tension because faith is just not really a priority for you, but it's a priority for someone in your family. Or if neither of those situations really relate to you, maybe you aren't really sure how family and faith should mix. Maybe you've always just said that you believe in the whole Christian thing because your parents told you to. And then as you got older, you're not so sure what you really think. And I know some of us are going through confirmation, which is great because that's a great way to try to figure out what you think and make your faith your own. But you're told to honor your parents. And so, like, you don't really have much of a choice. And so you keep going through the motions, but inside you're sort of struggling with that. And maybe you feel like you can't talk to your family about it. And so it makes it makes it all kind of tense to think of like faith and family. So, kind of in any situation, faith can really create a little bit of tension in families, which is confusing because it makes sense to us that faith would make things better in our family. But that doesn't always feel true. So, if faith can create tension in our family, how do we make sure that our faith is actually helping to make our families better? How do we help make our family stronger through our faith? Good news, I've got an answer for that one. And it's not coming from me, it's coming from Jesus. And it comes from his friend John as well, one of his closest friends. So let me explain a little bit of the context and like what's going on here. Just before Jesus was going to be arrested and then killed, so this is a little before the crucifixion, him being on the cross, he called his close friends and followers together. They all had a meal together. Even though Jesus warned them that he was going to die, they didn't really get it, and so they weren't expecting it. It just didn't click with them that that was what was going to happen, and that that would be the last meal that they shared together. To them, they were just doing what they always do as a family. They sit around a table, share a meal, they talk about life. But Jesus knew how things were about to go down, so he wanted to share some important words with his closest people. So at dinner, he drops this piece of truth right here. He says, "By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." The word disciples simply means that you follow Jesus. So if you're a follower of Jesus, that you're a disciple. And what Jesus was saying is that people will know that we follow him and believe in him by the way that we love each other. Jesus knew there were some difficult times coming. He knew that his friends were going to be scared and they were going to be persecuted and maybe even tempted to turn their back on him. And when it came down to it, Jesus took this one last opportunity to remind them that loving each other was the most important thing that they could do. Loving each other was the way they could show the world that they believed in Jesus, and it was the way that their faith could make an impact. And I think that that actually can be very true for our families as well. If we want faith to not just create tension in our families, but we want it to like really positively impact and help our families, it's not going to be about trying to win our family members over to our side. It's about convincing each other, or it's not about convincing each other to believe the same thing or arguing about what's right or wrong. It's just about love. That's really what it all boils down to, because loving your family is how your faith can make a really positive impact. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. Loving your family the way Jesus asks us to do can be really difficult, um, especially if you think at times that like people are annoying or maybe you get in a fight with your parents. It's not always the easiest to love. And that's why Jesus, again, helped us out here a few years later, so after Jesus' death and resurrection, there's a guy named Paul. He wrote a lot of the New Testament, and he was writing letters to churches to encourage people and help people live out their faith. And so this is after Jesus' death and resurrection, and they were figuring out faith. And so Paul laid it out for us what it looks like to love each other. He told us in 1 Corinthians 13 that love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So you've probably heard maybe a little bit of that before. Maybe you've heard that it gets read a lot, so you've maybe seen this. And it's a long list of stuff that love is, right? This is a great description of what love is and what it looks like. When Jesus calls us to love each other, this is what he's telling us to do, to be patient and kind and humble, respectful and selfless, not to get angry, not to get upset, not to hold grudges, just to protect and trust and hope and stick it out with the people around us. To love our family the way Jesus calls them to be calls us to love them. Loving your family is how your faith can make an impact. Love is all where it starts. So no matter what you believe or what your family believes when it comes to faith, this is something we can all do. We can all try to love people in our family just a little bit more. If you're doing it because you believe in Jesus, that's awesome. If you're still kind of not sure if you believe in Jesus, try just loving your family, and that can still make things a lot better. So this week, here's what I would love for you to think about. What does it look like for you to love your family and to love your family better than maybe you have been? Maybe it means being patient and kind to the adults in your house, or not being arrogant when you talk about your beliefs with your family members who maybe believe different things. Not being jealous of what your siblings have, not being rude to your mom, not being hot tempered or quick to react to your dad. Whatever it is, give it a try this week. And to help you not get overwhelmed, pick just one. Start small, right? Pick one of those that long list of things that love is. Pick one of the things that Paul listed. Start there and focus on that one. And then you can see that love is really how our faith is going to make our family better. Because honestly, love is what changes people. Love is what faith is all about. And even if it doesn't change them, it can change you and your perspective of them. So, again, keeping in mind that loving your family is how your faith can make a positive impact. We are going to continue this conversation throughout the next few weeks, and there are some great discussion questions in the details here below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. So glad you managed my channel, right? I can be like such a great YouTuber. I'd be terrible. Subscribe is here, here. No clue. Anyway, so we're going to keep this conversation going. We're going to talk about family and try to just like really support each other as we talk about these difficult things and things that are kind of harder to do. So kind of moving into this week, I want you to think of this. What's one way I can show my family love this week? Pick one thing and really focus on that. And that should be a great start for us and can really help us positively impact our families. So that's it for this week. Thanks for joining, and I will see you next week for week 2 of FAM.